Hey, YouTube theologians, blessed Pentecost. To drive from St. Paul Lutheran Church in Austin to Jesus Deaf Lutheran Church in Austin, you drive through downtown Austin. St. Paul's on the north side, just north of the University of Texas, and there's a Capitol stuff, then there's the downtown stuff, then there's a river, then there's South Congress right by Jesus Deaf. It's kind of nice. So between my two congregations is the city of Austin. Got it covered. So driving from one to another today, and I got caught in the riots. In fact, the interstate was blocked by protesters, so I was diverted off to the side, and as I was being diverted, the police were shooting tear gas. I didn't see that, but I saw the crowds dispersed. I got a little video here.
Through that downtown area as the police continue to try to get either monitor developments and break into our regular programming as necessary to give you all the latest. Kenny Rollins
remain quiet so he doesn't make bad worse. Because whenever he does speak up, he speaks up in a way that literally imperils people's lives. And so when he talks about marshaling the resources of the U.S. military against protesters and demonstrators, this is dangerous. This is quite dangerous. And so I hold him accountable. We all have to be thoughtful and responsible, including the president.
Cornell William Brooks is an attorney.
That's some of the protests in Austin, Texas. Here's the police force trying to keep the protesters off of the interstate. Just so happens they're keeping me off the interstate also. But, oh wow. And I don't, I have the YouTube channel and everything, and well, Pastor, I'm supposed to know what to say about all this stuff, but I don't know what to say. It's just profound sadness. Maybe this, there's a temptation. So God has ordered things in such a way that there's authority. And we're talking about the state here, and so the Lord has given the sword to the state, and that's what we're talking about with the police. So the sword can be directed outwardly, and that's the government's, like armies and waging war. The sword can be directed inwardly. That's like the justice system and the police. And that is a rightful authority. Romans 13 is probably the clearest passage. The government does not bear the sword in vain. But just because someone has the authority to bear the sword doesn't mean that they always do it right. Just because you have the authority to do something doesn't mean that you never make a mistake when you're doing it, that you never sin. So just because, for example, the parents have the authority to discipline their child doesn't mean that parents are always right whenever they discipline the child. Or just because the pastor has the authority to preach doesn't mean that everything he says is automatically right. He can make mistakes. And in fact, those mistakes, or even just those sins that are committed by those in authority, they do even more damage. Here's the example. Let's just imagine that two people came and punched me in the face. And they punched with the same exact velocity, and their punch did the same amount of damage, knocked out the same amount of teeth, caused the same amount of physical pain. So two identical punches, bam, right to my face. But one of them was done by a stranger, and the other one was done by my father. Can you see which one is worse? When the sin comes from those in authority, it does even more danger. And Dad, I'm not giving you any ideas, Dad, by the way. I don't want you to punch me in the face. Blah, blah, blah. It's the worst sins, the worst fruits are when authority is abused. When parents to child when there's abuse, or husband to wife when there's abuse, or those in authority anywhere in the world, in the church, in school, abusing those under their authority. It's the same sin is compounded because it's a sin of office. So when someone with the authority to arrest someone abuses that authority, it hurts. It's a worse kind of murder. But then the devil comes along and tempts us. To say because authority is abused, then there should be no authority at all, or because order is abused, there should be no order at all. And that's also of the devil. It's the second wave. Here's the protest, by the way. Can you see it there in the back? Look at this guy, says cops crucified Jesus. Oh, sorry, the Monday morning interruption here. When I moved the camera to show you the sign of the man who says that Jesus was murdered by police, I stopped the video and I kept talking for like 3 minutes. And anyway, I didn't realize it until I was on Mopac that I had done that. So I want to just finish this thought that this temptation comes in two waves. So you have the first wave when you're sinned against, especially if you're sinned against by someone in authority. And now the devil's going to use that to try to tempt you to think that the whole structure, the whole system is wrong. So that if you're hurt or abused by someone in the church, then the devil comes along to tempt you and say the whole church is corrupt. Or if you're hurt and abused by someone who is a parent, then the devil comes to tempt you to say that family itself is wicked. Or if you're hurt or abused by someone in governmental authority, the devil comes along to say the whole thing is wrong. In other words, he tries to take that sin of office and apply it to the office in our own conscience, in our own mind. And that's a dangerous temptation. And it seems like that's the temptation that we're facing now, that many people are facing now. And so I think that's the theological words that we want to put on it. Okay, I think that finishes the thought. Here's back to the Sunday drive home. Sorry, so melancholy this week, but this is a sad one. So we can pray that the Lord would hear our prayers, that he would have mercy on us, that he would grant us all restraint, that the Lord would open our eyes to see the truth of His Word, so that we would know that there's no such thing as race, for heaven's sakes. That those who feel the weight of oppression would find eternal comfort in the freedom that comes in Christ, and also that the Lord would deliver us all from this world of violence and poverty and hatred, animosity, spite. We can rejoice in His kindness. Lord, have mercy.